John C. Fremont's wagons and Joseph Nicollet's canoes ended up rendezvousing at the confluence of the Cottonwood and the Minnesota River. Finally healed, Chief Sleepy Eyes greeted his son, who he had not seen for several months, and he entertained the entire expedition at what would later be New Ulm. After leaving Sleepy Eyes, the Fremont party was supposed to go in canoes and scout out the lower Minnesota at the bend of the river, which eventually became Mankato. Joseph Nicollet explained that he wanted to visit with Sleepy Eyes for a few more days and would eventually meet the party at the Traverse des Sioux in a few days. Sleepy Eyes learned that Joseph Nicollet was headed towards the Haunted Valley. He immediately hopped on his horse, rode miles south to catch up to the expedition, and warned him that he was heading into an area that would be very dangerous. So Sleepy Eyes, along with his most trusted man, joined Joseph Nicollet as they headed to the Haunted Valley.
According to the Blue Earth County historian Thomas Hughes, the Dakota had a region south of Mankato near the confluence of the Watonwan and the Blue Earth River where spirits lurked, foul deeds were done, and only outcasts and criminals would dare go to remain hidden. For this reason, Chief Sleepy Eyes refused to let Nicollet enter without proper protection. Why would Nicollet separate from his expedition to privately explore such a place? Because Nicollet still yearned to find Lahontan's River of Death and LeSueur's abandoned Fort LaHillier.
Upon entering the Haunted Valley, Nicollet took his time exploring both science and legend.
Several years after his private visit to the Haunted Valley, Nicollet would go on to label this region on his map as the Undine. There are two possible meanings to the word Undine. First is in an old Germanic tale, very similar to the Little Mermaid tale, about a water nymph haunting a mysterious pool of water, waiting to lure a young human to his eventual death. The second meaning is more nefarious, yet more probable. Before the popularity of the Undine in the tragic German love story, it was a term used by alchemists, another name for wizard. In centuries past for the element of water. There was also sylph, salamander, and gnome were the elemental symbols for air, fire, and earth. Prior to Nicollet, alchemists studied these four primitive elements to discover the missing element, the Philosopher's Stone. As a scientist in 1838, Nicollet would have known this since alchemy shifted to a respectable chemistry as recently as the previous century. Besides making stops at any lakes that had potential connections to Indian lore, Nicollet also made a point of visiting the legendary places written by his countrymen, LeSueur and Lahontan. Both Lahontan and LeSueur were wealthy explorers and fur traders back in the 1680s when hardly anything was known about America west of the Ohio River Valley. Instead of focusing on making money by selling furs, both men were lured in by rumors of a western tribe, the Dakota, who painted their faces with strange blue paint, the Blue Earth. Despite the inherent danger, both men made trips to this place where the earth bled blue. In their accounts, they found a place where a massive mound of copper vitriol was found beside a river near a watershed.
Even though geologist George Fanshawe debunked the idea of LeSueur's trip, Nicollet found a very large bluff at the location that he believed to be LeSueur's Lit River. Along with Laframbo, Geyer, and his new guest, Sleepy Eyes, Joseph Nicollet went in search for Fort LaHillier, which is where Pierre Charles LeSueur dug a copper mine a century and a half earlier.
On August 17, 1838, Nicollet believed he'd finally found Fort LaHillier. He describes it as being 40 to 50 feet high, surmounted by primitive deposit, 60 additional feet in height, making cliffs some 100 feet above the river. Current was always rapid around it. He says, "We left our camp shortly after sunrise, about 5 miles west. We reached the bank or the rocks at the Macado, where the Blue Earth is found. The place of the Blue Earth is an almost perpendicular rock, the very banks of the river, about 200 feet above. We got some of it, the Blue Earth, with great difficulty ascending and descending the heights. Upon his final map, Nicollet would label this place as the Le Sueur River, in personal confirmation that he'd found the place of legend. The clock was ticking on his private expedition, with the rest of the men waiting at the Minnesota River.